Welcome back to another interesting movie recap. The movie opens with Isla, a woman with superpowers, planting explosives on a building. Her friend sees her and tries convincing her to stop, but just then, the police make it to the scene and they hastily run for their lives. Isla gets trapped inside a building with the police and they ask her to surrender. She reads one of the officers' minds and finds out that he has intentions of pulling the trigger when she makes a step. She immediately smashes one of the officers with a metal, and in the next minute, gunshots are heard. Years later, Isla is seen with her teenage daughter, Aurora, who has superpowers just like her and is curious about life outside the world. They live alone and Isla does everything in her power not to involve her in the matters of the outside world. That is no friends, homeschooling only, and no social activities. All Aurora does is to read, play around with her ball, and practice using her powers. Isla practices with Aurora most times and makes her aware that people can die if she doesn't learn how to control it. One day during Aurora's homeschooling session, Isla reminds Aurora of what she must do and say when she gets stopped or gets taken. Isla tells her to tell them nothing, try very hard to keep them out of her mind, fight as long as she can, and never forget that she'll be waiting for her at the bus stop on the 730 line. Later in the evening, while Aurora is watching her favorite TV show, Isla leaves to get some supplies. Once Isla leaves the house, Aurora also sneaks out to meet her friend, Isaiah. While they are listening to music and chatting, Aurora spots her mom's car driving in. She rushes back inside and goes back to where she was sitting before Isla left the house. Isla finds it a little strange when she sees Aurora sitting at the same spot where she was when she left. Without delay, she gets into her head and finds out that Aurora went to meet a boy. When Isla confronts Aurora, she bursts out saying she needs some privacy, and her mom in return tells her to learn how to shield her thoughts well in her mind if she needs privacy. Upon Isla finding out that Aurora has been meeting Isaiah for some time now, she decides that they'll be leaving the house on Friday. The next day, Isla gives Aurora a heavy box to move across the room with her powers since she feels that she is ready for the outside world. Just when she moves it halfway, she loses control and drops it. Isla then proves to Aurora that she isn't ready for the outside world because they won't give her a chance when they find her. Later in the evening, after the little argument, Aurora dresses up and meets Isaiah and his friends in an abandoned area. Isaiah introduces her to them. After that, she gets into their heads and hears the ill thoughts they have about her, and she begins to lose control of her power. Isaiah tries to calm her down, but she ends up killing him. Aurora begins to call for help, and there, some kind of energy emerges and takes her out of the place. Isla senses this and wakes up immediately to look for her. She finds her window open and tries sending her messages, but to no avail. The police sirens begin to wail in the distance, so Isla packs some stuff and leaves the house. Aurora wakes up the next day in a room all by herself. She tries unlocking the door and communicating with her mom, but all does not work. After some time, a man named Derek walks in with clothes for Aurora to change into. Derek tells Aurora that she's somewhere safe and he brought her over because he heard her calling for help. Derek joins Aurora later and explains that the facility was built for people like her. He adds that he mostly finds people their kind at an early age, but here she is in her teens, and that makes it a little unusual. Derek asks who she lives with, and she says she lives alone. He gives Aurora remarks in preventing him from accessing her thoughts since she came. Before leaving, he mentions that he'll be introducing to her some kids of her age when she gets used to the place. An attendant then takes Aurora to her room. Derek joins her later on and begins to question her on what her abilities are. Aurora mentions all and adds that she wishes to learn the art of teleportation. Derek makes her aware it's very tasking and that even he hasn't mastered it yet. He then takes her outside and confronts her, saying he knew that she lied about living alone. Derek takes her into her memory and finds where she lives. He knows perfectly that Aurora doesn't live in the house alone. Derek tries so hard to make Aurora think of the person she lives with, and she also uses people from the TV, Isaiah's friend, and finally gives in and shows Isla. Derek notices Isla when her face appears and tells Aurora not to be protecting her. He takes her inside and shows her the police officers Isla killed from the beginning of the movie. He tells Aurora that her mom killed them, including her friend who tried stopping her. Derek makes Aurora believe by telling her that it is the reason why Isla always keeps her out of her memories. Afterward, he urges her to help them find her mother, promising that she will have the life that she wished for. Aurora refuses the offer. On the road, Isla begins to recollect scenes from where the officers got killed. Aurora is alone in the room. She tries opening the door, and when it doesn't work, she turns on the TV to watch her favorite TV show. As she is watching it, she begins to remember the nice moments she shared with her mom. This triggers anger in her, and she starts to smash the TV and hides a piece of its glass. Later, some attendants come to clean the place up, and while they're leaving, Aurora uses the piece of glass to block the door from locking up. She steps out and immediately starts looking for a way to escape. Aurora comes across a dark hallway with people possessing superpowers like her, locked up in rooms. They begin to frighten her, and as she tries to escape, the attendants find her and take her back into her room. Isla finally gets to the bus stop and sits to wait for Aurora to arrive. While Aurora is in her room thinking of how to leave the facility, Derek comes in and questions how she managed to get out of her room. Curious, Aurora asks Derek about the people who are locked up, and he explains that those people are too dangerous to live in a free world. Derek then begins to press Aurora to tell him where her mom is. When she refuses, he gets into her memories to find out himself, but she forces him out of it. Derek then sends the attendants to come for Aurora and lock her up in one of the rooms. Derek comes in and begins to control Aurora's mind. He takes her to her house and makes Isaiah appear. Aurora starts pleading with Derek to stop, and just then, Isaiah feels a sharp pain in his neck where he got stabbed, and he begins to blame her for his death. Derek again takes her into her favorite TV show and makes Isaiah appear at the door with a flower. Just when she decides to take the flower, Isaiah's head breaks open and the blood spills all over her face. When she goes back inside, the presenter asks her to mention where Isla is so that all these will end. Derek continues to manipulate Aurora's memory until she remembers where Isla told her she will be. After Derek finds out, he teleports there to find and kill her. Isla pleads with him to let Aurora go and take her instead, but he says he doesn't need her for anything. While Derek is telling Isla the plans he had about them ruling the facility together, Isla is seen in the facility killing all Derek's men and trying to find where Aurora is. Isla finds Aurora, takes the chains off her hands. At the bus stop, her presence is lost. Derek realizes he has been fooled and the bomb explodes. While Isla is escaping with Aurora, Derek teleports back into the facility and orders one of his men to lock the whole place down. Immediately the place gets locked down. Derek communicates to Isla that he knows she is in the building, and at the same time, his men begin to go around searching for them. Isla and Aurora find a room to hide for some time, but Derek finds them in there and takes it on Isla. While Isla is fighting for her life, Aurora pulls herself up, gathers enough courage, and within a second, she teleports herself and Isla into a farm somewhere in Missouri. They find an unlocked car, hop into it, and begin their journey. On their way, Isla begins to chastise Aurora, saying she shouldn't have left the house, but she responds saying to her it's not time to be talking about that. Aurora mentions the killing Derek told her about, and for the first time, Isla lets Aurora into her memories to find out exactly what happened. 15 years ago at the facility, Isla tried to blow the whole place up because Derek claimed it was only a place to house dangerous psionics, but then he began to go after every human with superpowers. When the police arrived, Isla ran into the room where she got trapped. Derek teleports there and kills the two officers. When their fellow psionic arrives, he kills him too and tells Isla he's going to put the blame on her because she is the one the officers saw outside and not him. That is where Isla started to run away and is still running. Isla tells Aurora she just didn't want her to see her pain, and also, she wanted to protect her at all cost. Isla then apologizes for making her feel weak, and then they continue their journey. The next morning, Isla and Aurora are at a park having a drink. Isla says she wants them to move to Portland and start a new life there because Derek will keep pursuing them. Aurora lets Isla know she is done running and intentionally breaks a jar to make Derek know where they are. Aurora then goes to meet Derek and Isla also follows. Derek starts to convince Aurora that they could work together, but she lets him know that she isn't interested. Aurora politely asks Derek to let them go, and he says he's never going to do that. Isla sees the beginning of their end coming and asks Aurora to stop everything so that they leave, but she tells her mom to trust her. Aurora gathers every bit of her power, and when Derek sees it, he does the same in order to face her. Within a twinkle of an eye, Aurora touches him and teleports him into the street while a car is passing by and it hits him, sending him to his grave. Aurora then explains to Isla that she has a choice on what to use her power for, and she decided to use it to kill him because he wasn't ready to leave them alone. The end.